What's the size of the U.S. crop and the new estimates for South America? Jerry Gidel is ready to assess this within the commodity markets and his Chicago point of view right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, you are speaking from Chicago as always. So, well, let us know what did you think about the markets for closing on Friday.
Well, we've been definitely kind of sluggish and down defensive most of the week. We did see a little bit of recovery Thursday, and the soybeans and actually corn and soybeans both firmed up on Friday. I think it was just the fact that we'd got so defensive in that, and you never know what the USDA's reports on Monday, and that, and also the weekend that the prices kind of then. Took some profits off the short side profits off the markets and bounced a little bit along the way. Definitely, it's been an interesting week out in Washington at this point, from the standpoint that uh, the early in the week there was a congressional hearing about Trump's proposed port fees and things like that. There was nobody, either in the export world or the energy world or the ag world, that had any good things to say about having a million and a half to 2 million or 3 million type of port fee for bringing in a ship that was not a U.S. flag vessel, because there isn't very many U.S. flagged vessels. And on top of it, some of the U.S. Flagged vessels are also made in China, because we stopped, economically, we stopped making boats, steel boats, 25, 30 years ago. So there's not many of us around. So the industries out there says, what are you doing? We can't meet this thing in 25 years to get back to have anything to be able to ship. So all you're doing is just fine us for no reason. So definitely a lot of slack on that. And then mid to late week, the energy people and their American Petroleum Institute, and also the U.S. biodiesel and biofuels, renewable diesel people, along with, of course, the ethanol, have been trying to get together here to have a united front. Definitely the U.S. petroleum people have decided that just being anti-ethanol or anti-renewable fuels isn't really going to get them anywhere up to this point. And on top of it, I think they're also realizing that they don't want to take it all out of their own reserves. Let's kind of keep things going along here so we'll have a sustained business at a pretty good level. So anyway, last time around, Trump decided he was going to be the big supporter of the American petroleum industry, and ordered a lot of stuff, you know, taken care of and all kinds of stuff. But he's letting these two organizations to try to hash it out, which is probably a good approach here uh, in his world at this point, between the farmers and the ethanol and petroleum people get that particular thing straightened out. So, we'll see where that goes. Right now, at least they're got a few things that they figured out that they can
Yes,
figure out.
before we jump into the U.S. plantings, I think next week we are going to have some definition about the tariffs, but I don't think the negotiation is going to end because basically the U.S. has been negotiating with several countries for only 2 months, and we know for a fact that these negotiations tend to last a lot longer.
Totally agree. Particularly right now, there's been a lot of background conversations about U.S. and Mexican negotiations and that. A little bit more tense situation going on with Canada at this point, but just around the world. The only one really that stayed the same since the announcements was the Trump administration's additional 10% in China and that type of thing. Right now, that's definitely, uh, you know, hasn't improved, and there seems to be no real announcement of the two leaders to get together here and maybe work some of that out. So that one's definitely up in the air. But you're exactly right with the idea that we're going to be looking at the whole U.S. trading policy situations in a tit for tat approach. If somebody has a tariff on something, that we need to have the same tariff back to them. In most cases, uh, those things
Well,
that's really a weird deal because there's no guarantee that anything's going to get settled by that, and most of the time they're very minor things anyway.
for the agricultural sector, I have seen some reports of likely good deals coming out of India, that India would buy more U.S. agricultural products like soybean oil.
Yes, there's definitely that kind of conversation going on, particularly in along the way. And there's some things that long-term previous arrangements have changed over time, and there is going to be some positive things happening. But the key thing is that he needs to accept some of these as positive and keep on going, and not say, "Well, that's not enough. We need more." And that's his attitude right now. So we'll see how that all works together. I kind of agree with you that there could be some definite changes and some postponements and things and more negotiations, but that seems to be all tied up with the April 2nd or 3rd deadlines here on these new tariffs at this point, and we'll see. That's a few days after some other USDA and uh, reports early next week.
Well, and we had this week also, we had some updated numbers for the Brazilian crop with Agroconsult at their traditional tour in Brazil.
Yes, yes. They had that and a couple other ones that seemed to still like this 172, 173 soybean number along the way, but we've got other people down there. Ag rural is only 165.9. And to some extent, the the tour was really zeroing in on the northern areas. Rio Grande do Sul continues to have some issues about dryness, and that's really where a lot of the harvest is going on in the southern part of the country, which is in essence the more temperate scenario versus the northern areas, and that. And so that's a part of the thing. Same situation in Argentina. There's been some ups and downs there. So yeah, South American numbers are going to be important. They're really not going to be on our radar screen on Monday, but they definitely the other big factor is coming in this thing in the corn market is a second crop corn in Brazil. Everybody's hunky dory, everything's going to be fine. But if you really look at the maps over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, there hasn't been a lot of rain in Brazil across the whole country. We could end up having a early dry down of the the wet season, and it could have a because yes, we were similar to last year on our plantings, and everybody thought that would be fine. But last year we had the similar situation of dry down early, and we had a poorer crop than expected. So there's some subtleties still happening in the world of South America. They really won't be settled next week, but they're going to, I think people are getting a little nervous here, particularly after the fact we've really put the world prices pretty cheap here and because of all the ruckus in DC. And so I feel like that there could be some, depending on what our plannings are. There's lots of different theories about plannings too. Big ones, small ones, all right about on the U.S. numbers on Monday, and that will be our next big thing to look at.
Yeah, so what do you think the US crop will be standing? I have seen some speculation about additional reductions for the soybean survey.
Yeah, the soybeans, it depends on how exciting you want to talk about. Uh, Yeah, it's interesting in the fact that kind of the general thought was somewhere around 4 million up. Well, I'll take it back, 3.5, 4 million up on corn, and about the similar number come down. But we've also seen some people up way up at 95.5 million from this so-called Farmer Business Network estimates at this point, in that which would be a jump of geez, nearly 5 million bushels, 5 million acres. I'm sorry, and that we can't do it. And the one interesting thing about it is that we're getting back to this theory that uh, that also impacted some previous estimates here that people are kind of planting for the government programs, and that's not really a good strategy, really speaking. Uh, the situation in that. So I guess there's still a lot of uncertainty as to what we're going to see. The trade average estimates here for from Reuters, they're looking at 94.4. That's just a smidgen uh, under a 4 million increase at the 90.6. Previously last year. I'm kind of looking for a number a little below 94 at 93.87. You know, and it's more just the reality that I think there's when you talk to your banker, he's got a different attitude about what you should plant versus, and also the fact that there's been even some surveys out there that many producers are going ahead and doing their normal rotation here, or maybe going back to it, so that the reality of it is that the switch back won't be as dynamic. Beans, the trade average guess is 83.7. And I'm looking for 83.93, just a little higher on that, just because of the fact that I think that the corn acres will not be as high as the trade average guess. By the way, that's just about 4 million, excuse me, that's 3 million down from last year on that one. Wheat's an interesting one. I get back to this every year in this thing. Uh, my expectations of what happens in the northern plains is that many of those producers up there, with the size of their particular farms and things like that, they uh, are adverse to putting a lot of dollars in the ground here, and they can't get it from the banker, and that's so. I think this spring wheat number could be a lot closer to, excuse me, uh, 11 million. That's up about 400 thousand from last year. While there's people out there looking at less than that because they see the price of wheat's not being that exciting. Well, I don't disagree, but the weather situation in the northern plains is also somewhat dry. The whole western plains area has been less than normal snowfall, and also moisture. So I think that's a factor in there too. Wheat and durum and small grains do a lot better in less moisture than you try to put in a corn crop. Soybeans is a possibility, but that's not the world they're in up there, particularly in the northern plains. From there, so interesting situation as we get to those numbers on Monday. From there, on the planning side of things, the numbers there have had some dynamically, unexpectedly high numbers, like on plantings on corn back in 2020, just ahead of the pandemic. We had a huge number jump up to nearly 97 million acres. in that. By the time we got to June, we were down 5 million. We're down another 5.5 million after that, going into the final planning. So things can be quite dramatic in these numbers, but hopefully we're not going to get any startling, any crazy ones at this point. But sometimes the surveys that people fill out don't always turn out to be the right thing that they want to do later in the season from there. Of course, the other big numbers we get is the quarterly stocks, and those are ones that we're utilizing what our feed demand might be or shipping paces and stuff like that. Corn particularly is showing some very positive type of things here this year, with the number being down. I got 250 uh, million, down to 8.1 million, while the trade is about 50 million higher than that. No big deal. Because of the combination of good, strong exports and our feed demand hanging in there. Definitely some of the data we've had this week, the the hog, quarterly hog numbers, uh, did see some slippage from expectations, actually on breeding stocks. But the twist of that is our total number of uh, marketing and overall hog numbers have stayed right up there because we continue to get great efficiencies and we keep pushing the litter sizes up on, excuse me, on U.S. hogs, from the standpoint that, man, I think we're pushing like 11 and a half pigs per sow. When I was way long ago, 50 years ago, in my father's farrowing operations, we hoped to get seven. So that's a huge difference. But anyway, I digress. The wheat number going to be higher than last year just because of our exports have started to slip a little bit, and they're looking for an average estimate of 1.2. I'm looking for a little higher at 1.24 billion bushels. Soybeans, similar situation. We had a big planting of soybeans last year. Not that the yields are really that great, but the exports have been pretty good. Problem is that we had this larger supply, so we're going to likely be close to 1.9 billion bushels there, versus last year's 1.85. So that's not a huge difference. And it really depends on how the Argentina crops finally come in. We pretty well got a handle on most of the Brazilian numbers. There is a difference going on there between different firms' ideas. Some are at 173 and others at 165 to 66. But both those numbers are substantially higher than last year. So uh, Brazil and South America is going to be a very strong competitor out here in the soybean market going forward. We'll have to see if Argentina can contribute to that. They've had some ups and down weather, but that's hasn't that's the one that's got a little bit of uncertainty and unknown in South America. But overall, Monday's numbers are going to be good things to keep an eye on, and also what happens at the end of the week there, or a couple days later, about the tariffs, general tariff ideas that are coming out of the Trump administration, and how many of those really happen and how many don't, will be a big factor in prices going forward.
All right, we'll check back next week. I hope everyone subscribes and stay tuned to the channel. Thank you, Jerry.
You bet. Take care. Have a good day.